and I've met a lot of you here before, and in fact, there's a number of people that were on a trip where we went to Republic's facility in California, as well as a digester facility, and that's what I'm going to talk about a little bit, is a digester facility. Jason's here, I saw Craig in back, Rick's here. Who else went on that tour? Yes. So, what I have is a not-for-profit. It's called Resource Capture, and it is solely aimed at the organics portion of the waste stream. It's a very specialized portion of the waste stream that comprises about 30% of what is in your landfill. It is the part of the landfill that makes it smell. It is that item that makes leachate, that oozy, more like fertilizer-like intense smell and runoff that can be very damaging to our groundwater, that can be very damaging to our streams and our wildlife. It's what makes compost. It actually has a very positive product that it can make when it's handled in the right manner. So we call it waste, but I think we can all agree that it's really not waste if it can be turned into something good. So what we aim to do is capture that portion of the waste stream and make it into three things. Liquid compost, which is land applicable, really easy. Solid compost, we all know what that is, we buy it at the garden store. And renewable energy. So in traditional composting, I'll have you do the arrow, you would be able to make compost, solid compost. In this process, you would make actually 3 outputs instead of 1. Resource capture is purely a mission-driven, not-for-profit project. This is something where the community would be involved. We would have a community member on the advisory board. The mission is purely to provide safe, clean, and financially sustainable organic processing. So this creates not just the closed loop, like Steve was talking about earlier, for a product, like every part of it's used, but it also creates a circular economy. So in working with professors in the agricultural sciences, within 100 miles of here, we would be able to use as much organics that we could produce in this back into our local farming community. McMinnville's close by. That's the nursery capital of the South. There are a lot of farms, and they could use all of this output in our local economy that actually supports their farming in a better way than the chemical fertilizers that currently they're having to buy. At a much reduced cost, it'd be 10 cents on the dollar. So this actually helps our local economy have higher profits. Go to the next slide. So an anaerobic digester is a tube, and I think the really important thing that everybody knows is that it is sealed. And the really, really critical part about a digester is that you don't smell anything once it goes in because it's sealed, and you capture every little bit of what goes in, the liquid, the solid, and the gas. And in fact, we part and parcel those out in order to make sure that each of them has the economic benefit of the output. It is only in need of 1 acre for the building, and then you need acreage around it in order to have a vegetative buffer. And you have a waste station, you have ingress, you have egress. But one building that is about the size of 1 acre can house the digester equipment and the tube. And I think the tube is just the easiest way to say it, but that tube is where everything goes in one side and it comes out and it's sealed. It effectively mimics what happens in a landfill. You put organics in and you seal it, it's anaerobic, and that produces methane, but we actually capture the methane. It produces the leachate, or the liquid fertilizer, and it produces compost. It's the same thing. We're mimicking kind of what happens in nature, but we're controlling it, and we're managing those outputs. In 21 days, what goes in comes out. So you have an incredibly high volume that you can process on that 1 acre. So think of everything in Rutherford County can be processed on 1 acre in a sealed, safe, and clean environment. It's very, very automated. And there's a reason for that. Does anyone here want to shovel organic waste every day? I don't know if you've been out about 100 degrees shoveling organic waste ever. I have a dumpster at my restaurant right now, so I've had restaurants throughout my life. Yeah, I have a dumpster at my restaurant. We've just been closed for 10 days. Yeah, it was washed out before we left. It's been, how many, about 100 degrees today? Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's right. That's what it smells like constantly if you're not maintaining it well. No one wants to work around that. We've automated, everything is sealed, everything is clean. It's a place, it's pleasant to work, it's safe to work because it's automated, and the community around doesn't have to smell it either. Big bonus. Next slide, please. So just an artist rendering of what this could look like. You see in the center a square building. That square building is purely an education center. That is where Urban Green Lab, which is a not-for-profit here in Middle Tennessee, has school children out to learn agricultural science, engineering, agricultural science. This is a place you welcome the community into, and you see what happens with this part of the waste stream. The greenhouses on the right actually have the carbon dioxide that's part of the process off-gassing into them. Everything grows at about 30% greater rate. It's a test that you show students how much, it's part of their lesson, what the science is of carbon dioxide input into a greenhouse. Waste station on the left, real basic, but everything is sealed and in the building. So we're not open air. We have a rain event. We've had rain events where we have a couple of inches of rain in just a day or two. What happens when you've got open air composting? It washes off. Very much what Steve was talking about earlier when they had an accident. And accidents are going to happen. That's normal. What happens with all of that compost as it's running downstream? It's toxic. So in this setup, it completely encloses all of the water into the digester, and then its output is into bins. So nothing has an opportunity to wash away. It's all sealed. All right, next slide, please. So I've spent the last 7 years studying composting and organics recycling around, I started around the country, but truly who has this down more than anyone is Europe. And so I've spent, and I got back this morning, a lot of time, part fun, but part working with soil scientists and communities on how do they make this work? Like who's done it right and how did they get there? And what it's come down to is there's 6 major components, and those components all have to be addressed. And this is why I'm here actually working with the community and not just saying I'm going to build it and you're going to deal with it. Because I can do that. I can just go buy the land and build it. It doesn't work the same way. It doesn't work as well when the community's not engaging in the first and the 6th. And that is education on the front end. That means being in schools, being at farmers markets, being at sporting events at MTSU, and the community working on education, and then the community working on the PR on the back end, saying, look what we did. When you go to an elementary school and you show them that they diverted 8 tons of organics waste through the first quarter or semester, or whatever it might be, and what that equates to getting 40,000 cars off the road, or whatever that exact amount equates to, and they're learning within their curriculum what that means to the environment, and what that means to the health and safety of their community, they participate. They're proud to participate because they understand that that action has a very positive outcome. When you just tell someone to do something, be it a child or an adult, we all know that we all ask why. It's not just the 2-year-olds, we all do it. So let's give them a really good reason why and work with them on the education. Urban Green Lab is already developed within the state's curriculum. The take-home messages with the exact curriculum that's already approved. So teachers can go to an Urban Green Lab training and understand that within the curriculum they're teaching that year, what kind of fun take-home messages they can give the children in order to make this make sense for them to work in the cafeteria or wherever else in the school. The public relations part is my responsibility, but we do it in conjunction with the community. Like, where is it best, Keith is here, where's the Keith Miles from MPNF? Yeah, we work with a public relations company in order to identify in the community the best outlets to reach the most people. And a lot of it's social media these days, but it's important that the community understands that what they're doing is valuable and that it is moving the needle. Everything in the middle, that's my responsibility. Sourcing feedstock, that's when I go to Mars Corporation and say the 1,100 tons of organics waste that they have every year, instead of sending it to a landfill or to some place where it's not positive, actually they're sending it to a waste to energy. quite now, but we can put it in a digester and we get great compost to sell in the community.